Have you been seeing the Disney COVID crowds and wondering yourself, is this 35% capacity? Well, this video is for you. Welcome to the Highs Do Disney. My name is Mike. Amanda is not here today, so I'm solo. So today we're going to take a deeper look into what 35% capacity at Disney actually looks like. For all the parks, actually. We're not just going to focus on one park. We're going to do all 4 parks. During our visit, we ourselves have thought, is this really 35% capacity? It feels a lot more crowded than we thought. We've also received comments on our YouTube videos, as well as reading through other social media, Disney news, and with a lot of the same kind of sentiments and comments about, is this really 35%? So I'm a nerdy guy. I wanted to take the numbers, do some research, and find out if this actually is 35%, or are we being duped? I don't think we're being duped. I think Disney's pretty honest and serious about COVID, safety, so they are taking the steps. But I think perception is people's reality, so we have to take that into account as well. The first thing I did was wanted to find out what the actual capacity of each park was. Disney does not publish this information, so I had to do some research. Luckily, there are several sites that do have a benchmark or a baseline for what they think the average capacity is at 100% capacity. So we'll use these numbers as our baseline for our capacity for the park. So our 2 lowest parks are Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios at 60,000 apiece. I thought Animal Kingdom would be more, but Amanda and I have actually had this conversation, and she's very intelligent about the stuff that I'm not really conscious of, and that the park may seem a lot larger, but a lot of the park square footage is actually taken up by the safari. So 60,000 for Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. Magic Kingdom falls in as the 3rd largest park at 100,000, and Epcot, surprisingly, is at 110,000. Again, I didn't think about this one. Amanda knows a lot more. The park is actually very big. So she kind of agreed with those numbers. The only weird thing about Magic Kingdom was that there was multiple different speculations of numbers, anywhere from 85,000 to 100,000. So I just left it at 100,000 because the majority of the sites actually said 100,000. I'll put a link to all the sites in the description below that I use, so you can kind of go through and if you're nerdy like me and you want to actually see it instead of someone just telling it to you, you can go look it up yourself and kind of maybe do the math yourself if you like. But now that we've established a baseline for the park capacity, let's take a look at what the average daily numbers were. So that was my next goal, the average daily numbers of the park. I found DisneyNews.us had a great breakdown of all of the average daily numbers yearly, by park, by month, by day, from 2015 to 2019. And so for this, I'm just going to use 2019 because it was last year. It was right to pre-COVID. So it's a great way to kind of give us an idea of where Disney was right before COVID happened. Again, we'll start with the 2 smallest parks, Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. Animal Kingdom averaged about 38,000 visitors per day. Hollywood Studios averaged about 31,500 visitors per day. Magic Kingdom was the highest at 57,000 average visitors per day, which doesn't really surprise you. It's the biggest. Technically, it's not the biggest park, but it's the most visited park because it's the central focal point of what Disney is. Epcot averaged about 34,000. I gotta make a side note about these daily averages as well, is that they're not taking into consideration the very large holidays, Christmas, New Year's Eve, all your vacations, where the capacity does increase. This is just an overall average. So there are going to be days where it is actually busier. If you travel during the vacation times or during the busier times, this actually may feel like a lot less for you, but those of us who visit the park kind of on the off times, we'll see how that works out for you. So with these numbers, we can now get our baseline daily capacity percentages. So Animal Kingdom averages about a 63% capacity. Hollywood Studios averages about a 52% capacity. Magic Kingdom is averaging about a 57% capacity, and Epcot's averaging about a 31% capacity. Now that we have these 2 number figures, we can continue on in our quest to see what 35% looks like. And we can kind of compare it against the average of what they do daily. I do want to take another side note here. A lot of people, I think, are confused by the 35% as well. Before we dive into it, let's take a talk about 35% capacity. I've read, again, comments, social media, blogs and stuff like that, and vlogs, and 35% is based off of the total capacity. So we're gonna get that off, out of the way. 35% is based off the total capacity. I feel like there's a lot of people who think that 35% is based off of the average daily capacity, which is not true. I wish it was, because that'd be a great reduction, but it would leave a lot of people out who would like to spend time in Disney. So now that we kind of knocked that one out of the way, let's kind of do some more math here. So let's do our 35%. So Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios are 2 lowest. Animal Kingdom 35% is about 21,000, so about 17,000 less guests for about a 45% reduction in their capacity. Hollywood Studios, 35% is the same as Animal Kingdom at 21,000, so about 10,000 less people, so about a 33% reduction. So not as big of a reduction as you would think. And you can feel this reduction in the parks. Hollywood Studios still does feel reasonably busy. I think it's because of, Galaxy's Edge being so new, people still want to go there. So you've still seen that park keeping up, and it's only a 33% reduction. And there's also some natural byflow of the park too. I mean, the park in some places is very narrow, and so you do feel a little shoulder to shoulder with people as you're walking around the parks. You also take into account that these parks, you're supposed to be 6 feet apart from people. Some people are, some people aren't. And then now every ride is 6 feet apart for each party during the queue. So the queues are extended very long because, the average person takes about, I think it's like 2 cubic feet for standing space. Again, nerdy stuff that I look up. And so you add 6 feet onto that, and you're literally, it's like 3 or 4 times the amount of square footage you need for each party now. So, the line's 4 to 5 times longer because of social distancing. So they're spilling out into the sides of the walkways in the parks. Look at Mine Train. It's literally wrapped around the whole entire Mine Train. It's literally almost back around to the other side sometimes. We stood in line for a 90-minute ride, and we're standing at Gaston's Tavern to get onto Mine Train, which isn't really that far. It's decent distance, but not that far. You also take into consideration there are less choices for food, some of the shopping. So people are being pushed into certain places. If there's less food, then more people have to go to one spot or the other. So you're going to see a lot more capacity. And a lot of them are doing mobile only, so they're all standing up front waiting for their mobile orders because you can't go in until your mobile order's ready. Yada yada yada. Limited seating on the quick serves and the sit downs. So a little bit of expansion there. Cosmic Rays comes to mind because we walk by there, wait for that, and it's always crowded out front. So now we jump into Magic Kingdom. This one's easy. 100,000, 35%, 35,000 guests per day as their current max capacity. It's approximately 22,500 less guests per day. It's about a 40% reduction in their capacity. So you're not really seeing, it's not over 50. 40 is a lot for Disney. That's 22,500 guests that are not spending money in their park, so that's money out of their pocket. But again, Magic Kingdom sometimes doesn't feel too bad. Animal Kingdom doesn't feel bad at all. We were there actually yesterday, and it was pretty easy to get along. It was the end of the holidays, or it was the end of the area's vacation, spring vacation for school, so it wouldn't feel too bad. Hollywood Studios is just weird. It's just a weird setup park, so it always feels weird to me to go in there. Certain places are not crowded. Certain places are crowded. Galaxy's Edge. This last one, Epcot, this one actually kind of surprised me. Not what I was anticipating happening, but this is actually the way it works. So the big surprise, Epcot. 35% of Epcot is about 38,500 guests. That's 4,400 more guests than what they run on average. Effectively, what these numbers show is that Epcot could effectively have a higher daily average than what they daily average in 2019. So Epcot could have a few more thousand people in their park every day. And Epcot does feel like this. Going during Flower and Garden, Food and Wine that we've been to, it still feels busy on those busy days, especially on the weekend. And then it's Walcott. Like the whole entrance of the park is all walled off, and it sends you around to each side, and then you got to make your way into World Showcase, which is where everybody generally goes because pretty much everything's pushing you that way anyways. And so you're wandering around through World Showcase, and you are packed in there. And while it's not that bad, there's still plenty of space. You don't see the change. Like, it is not operating at that much of a reduction. And I think this amused Amanda and I the most because, we have had those thoughts. I think we had that conversation in one of our, maybe not been in the video, but during filming of one of our videos, we actually had the thought like, wow, it is really busy in here. Like, that was the big marker, the big trigger for us that says this is actually 35%. And lo and behold, Epcot operates at a higher capacity, or can operate at a higher capacity if they'd like to, for their park. And so now we know why some of the parks actually do feel more crowded than others, and there is some validity to that information. So I think Disney did an awesome job keeping people as safe as they can while offering, as many entertainment options as they can in a safe manner. So if you are heading to the parks, please wash and hand sanitize your hands often. Wear that mask over the mouth and the nose. Please cough and sneeze into your elbow with your mask on. Don't take it off. It defeats the purpose. And listen to all cast member requests. Give everybody some space, especially when you're in queue. And if you want to see what Magic Kingdom looks like when it's really dead, watch this video here. Peace.